moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. We're underway. Here it comes. Oh, look at that contact. Oh, wow. They're side by side. Outstanding. Absolutely sensational. What a moment.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman, and joining me here on the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page is none other than 24-year-old American FIM Moto2 World Championship rider Joe Roberts. And Joe, before we get into all that and what's happened in Moto2 this year, I just want to take a quick step back to sort of how you got into motorcycle racing. I read that you rode a motorcycle the first time at 4 years old. What made you stick with it? What made you gravitate to racing on two wheels?
Yeah, it's weird. I've been riding motorcycles over 20 years, but I'm only 24 years old. So, yeah, it's wild. It's a question I get a lot, like even just, growing up in LA, people seem to always find what they want to do later on in life, but I've really always known what I wanted to do and been doing it, every week or every other week for my whole entire life. So, yeah, it's just something me and my dad got into. My dad is a huge fan of motorcycle riding, racing, anything to do with it. What sparked it for me was a movie you probably obviously know. It's called On Any Sunday. And it was a movie that I still watch, but was a movie that just inspired me. I love the lifestyle of just going out and riding. And obviously it was a fun thing to do with me and my dad, just having that father-son kind of bond to go out and ride every weekend. He was busy a lot with work. So being able to just have that time with him every weekend and go ride was special for me. And it's weird how it kind of happens. You just kind of keep going and it's fun. We always kept it fun, the whole kind of step, even when we started racing. But you hear about another championship starting up and it's like we started on dirt, and then we hear about, mini road racing and, oh, well, what's that? And my dad is a huge fan of MotoGP. So he was like, let's try the mini road racing. And I found I took to the dirt or to the road more than the dirt. So it made sense to me to ride the mini stuff. And yeah, just kind of kept going from there,
That's awesome. What a story. And obviously a family, interest in it, which we see a lot in motorsports. You mentioned sort of the transition from maybe the dirt to the roadside and sort of the lifestyle you love about motorcycle racing. One of the things I've noticed following you on Instagram is you have a very unique training regimen there where you ride the Supermoto bike, I guess, in smaller tracks and you do these huge slides and such. It looks fun. It looks sketchy at times. How does that help you, get ready for Moto2?
Yeah, it can be sketchy, especially with some of the tracks in SoCal. I mean, they're like the tracks I grew up on, so I know them so well. But you start looking around at some of the poles next to you, or maybe the fence next to you. Gets a little close sometimes. But Supermoto for me is it's one, it's really fun, to ride a bike like that and just slide it into the corners. But for me, it teaches just a lot of mental discipline. I kind of have just like every athlete has their kind of thing. And I go ride Supermoto and I go alone most of the time. And I just hammer out laps. I try to be perfect every lap. It's my kind of thing, just because Moto2, it's comes down to those little tenths, those little margins that separate you from first or 10th or 20th, so as a rider, you can't just be out riding your bike. You got to be on it and have that mental energy to that mental focus just to be perfect, make no mistakes. So Supermoto for me is really tight and twisty and helps, in that sense, just to be perfect.
Yeah, you're heading into your second year with Italtrans this year in the Moto2 Championship. You guys were just testing at Portimao. What do you guys? Anything interesting coming out of that? Something that stuck out to you in terms of your competitiveness looking ahead to 2022 or this year?
No, for sure. I think for me, starting this second year, that the first year with the guys wasn't kind of what we expected. It was a bit of a season that started well, but then kind of fell off, and it was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I expected a lot, and the team did too. So I spent the winter just really trying to understand what I want and what we need to do. And I think the testing for me, testing is always funny because I think people look to the first guy and go, that's the guy who's going to win it all, which maybe would happen. But for me, it was just really important to like understand this bike and understand my guys and like how we can, get this thing to start running up the front all of the time, and I just played a lot with my riding, even laps that were terrible were still valuable for me because I learned what not to do,
Yeah.
But it was good. We had a couple fast laps that came together. I still think we've got some work to do, but overall I'm like happy because we went the wrong way, which for me makes me know where to go, where's the right way. And when we kind of started going in that direction, the times got quicker and quicker. And I think the potential is huge. This team is obviously a great team. They've won the title, back in 2020, so it can be done. And I've run up front too, podium and pole position, so we know I can do it. They just got to put it together.
Of course, it's that's racing, as they say, right? One of the things that motorcycle racers deal with, like yourself, that I find very unique about motorcycle racing is injuries. And obviously last year you dealt with a collarbone injury. I always wonder about like recovery time and maybe if that affects, the way you ride the next time you get on the bike. Does it at all? Or is it sort of once it's recovered, you're back to doing what you always have done?
Yeah, no, injuries is a huge part of this sport, something that I fortunately haven't, fallen into that too much. I've kind of stayed away from, the operating room, but unfortunately last year made a little critical error in Misano in a wet condition and just landed on it and broke it. The first time I've ever done, broke a collarbone. So it was kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward surgery. Ended up not being straightforward for me, to be honest, because I ended up throwing myself down the road 10 days later in Portugal when I tried to come back and ride. And I think that kind of messed some things up in there. And Valencia, basically all left-hand corners, my collarbone, the plate that was put on there, just came apart and the bone rebroke. And during qualifying, I was like just riding with one hand, trying to make it happen. And then the next morning, the doctors were like, yeah, you're done. So a bit of a rough end to the season, but I came home back to LA, had Dr. Brian in California fix me up and put a, beefier plate in there so that doesn't happen again. But yeah, it feels all right. It's kind of weird having a piece of metal in me, but it's all right.
I don't know how you guys do it. It's wild. It's amazing stuff. When you look ahead to the season, is there, you talk about upping the performance. Is there tracks that stick out to you? You're saying, hey, I know that's a place we can go. We could sit on the pole. We could win that race. That's a track that really suits me.
Yeah, I've definitely had that mindset in the past, like tracks like Brno was always like my first podium. That was a place I always set as like, I'm going to kill it here. Unfortunately, we don't go there anymore, so that's off. But I don't know. I'm trying to make every track one of those tracks, to be honest. But the first round, Qatar is a really cool track. It's just if it's not blowing dust and not too windy, it's pretty sweet. But otherwise, it's just really flowing. Tracks that flow, have a lot of high speed, seem to resonate with me, a lot. So I would say Qatar, maybe Le Mans, Mugello, those places I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. High speed places. I love that. It's being in the throttle. One of the things we see often in Moto2 is the racing's incredibly tight, right? Like you guys are right on top of each other. Just, you mentioned sort of being perfect all the time. What is that, what is that like racing that closely together at the speeds you guys do, especially the high speed tracks? And how do you find those little things to get your team to be in that first place position? Yeah,
riding at high speed feels honestly kind of like slow motion, which seems weird, but it, Mugello especially, you got that long straightaway there, and it doesn't really feel fast because you got guys next to you going the same speed. Tracks are so wide, your vision's really out, and it just feels like you're flowing. I mean, when you hit the ground, you know how fast you're going, but before that, you know, you just feel like you're gliding on the track. But I think, yeah, I don't know. For me, the racing has always been close ever since I was racing the Red Bull Rookies Cup, and or even racing in dirt track when I was a kid. You know, it was always, you know, getting close to each other, hitting each other a little bit. So that's just kind of part of the game, you know.
Got it. And you're currently living in Spain now?
Yeah, I live just outside of Barcelona. Yeah.
And I know I've seen you do a bit of surfing as well in your free time. Does that allow? Can you get some surfing in over in Spain as well? And how does your training change by living there as opposed to, say, California?
To be honest, the Mediterranean doesn't really throw a swell too often. It's kind of when it's storming out that there's something. But yeah, honestly, compared to California, I think Barcelona is maybe even better for a MotoGP racer, because this whole place is just built for motorcycle racers. I mean, there's tracks everywhere. There's a dirt bike track 10 minutes up the road from me. And yeah, it's just made for motorcycle racing. So it's kind of paradise in that sense.
I love it. That's got to be a great time. Well, we wish you the best of luck in this upcoming season, and thank you for joining us.
All right. Thanks, man. See you around.
Hi, I'm Will Christian, and thank you all so much for watching. I'm here to remind you to hit subscribe for all the latest Supercross news and highlights. And of course, don't forget to sign up for Peacock Premium. That is now the new home for streaming for all live Supercross events all season long.